Welcome to News Laundry Chota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. I am back on the Hafta panel after a rejuvenating week in the hills of Uttarakhand, Manisha's home state. Something good has come out of there. We are here in the office of News Laundry in the sweltering Delhi, which was quite a hard thing to take when I got in. Monsoon hasn't hit as promised. It has got delayed, I believe. But all that aside, we've had a pretty action-packed week of news. Before we get into the headlines, let me just introduce the panel to you. We have joining us from London our regular columnist who also has been writing for Wire and Quint as well. Jami, is that right?
No. Scroll. I've written one for Scroll.
So Jami N. Rao is an independent public health physician and epidemiologist. He has actually been on the Hafta before. He's over 25 years of experience in Britain's National Health Service and 5 in the senior civil service with the Department of Health. His particular skills are in data science, medical research ethics, evaluation of research proposals, critical appraisal of clinical evidence, and health policy development. Much of that you must have seen manifest itself in the pieces he has written for us. And he's also visiting professor in the public health at Staffordshire University. Welcome, Jami.
Thank you.
Also joining us from Chennai is our wonderful very own Jayashree. Hi, Jayashree.
Hi.
I hope the weather in Chennai is better than Delhi, although I wouldn't bet on it.
Marginally, but not by much. So.
All right. And Manisha here with us in office.
Been in Delhi working hard.
Yes, after
I feel bad. I shouldn't make you feel guilty actually because you said this is the first time you've taken a 10-day long break.
8 days. It's, I think, the first time in 10 years
You just take 2 to 3.
I've taken, in the last 10 or 15 years, I've not taken more than 4 days. But yes, it was really weird because after my 4th day, I was getting like antsy, like, okay, what am I doing here with nothing to do, no screen?
That's terrible. You should get used to being on holiday.
No, actually, once I had gone on holiday with my sis and she was really upset because after my 3rd or 4th day, I'd start pacing up and down and I would like say, like, I want to go back
You're
now.
addicted to work. You're a workaholic.
I don't know. I guess.
Is that a necessary condition for being a businessman? An
I don't know.
entrepreneur?
Businessman.
Withdraw.
जी मेरे बेटा 10 किलो आटा ते लक्कड़ ते
A media entrepreneur?
So me and Arnab, but we don't have Anand joining us because today he's in a place that has no internet. So hopefully he'll join us next week. Our wonderful producer Lippy will organize that. So Anand is there next week as well. So Jamni, before we get into the headlines with Jayashree, sorry.
About me. Sorry,
Raman sir, you're here. I thought you were on leave. Oh, my bad. Raman sir has joined us from the hills. What about me? Oh, sir, how? Oh, hi, Raman. Why is he not showing up on my screen? Oh,
Okay.
acha. Only 2 windows are showing up. Okay, hi, sir. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Raman sir is joining us on the phone line from the hills.
From Uttarakhand, my hill house.
I see. So, is it raining, sir?
No, it hasn't rained for the past 3 days. Otherwise, the day I came, it rained very heavily, and my wipers just conked off,
Oh, dear.
wiper of my car, and I had to drive almost,
My
as
God,
good
in the
as
hills
driving
without
blindly.
vipers?
Yes, I
That's
was in-
dangerous, sir.
It was very dangerous.
So, but just driving in the mountains, it's just beautiful. I keep forgetting how lovely it is whenever I go up there. But anyway, we should move our office to the mountains at some point in our lives. Let's see, sir. That should be our ambition. News Laundry should have
house
a
is
summer office and a winter office.
Yeah, like
My house is
Angrez.
available.
Like the Angrez.
Like the Angrez. So, Jami, you tell us about London. You guys always talk about the weather, right? That's the joke, that Londoners always talk about the weather. What is it like right now?
It's warm and muggy, surprisingly. It's been a very warm few days, lots of sunshine, bright sunshine most of for the past week. But once you have 5 days of sunshine, then you start getting the clouds start moving in, a bit of thunder and a bit of rain, and the whole thing cools down again. But it's at the moment it's superb weather. You can walk about in a simple with just a t-shirt, You don't need anything more than that in the daytime. Mildly cool in the evenings and late night. Perfect weather for sort of dressing up, though there's nowhere to go.
But tell me, is the Euro 2020 mania, do you notice it in London? I don't know whether you're moving around, but do you see it? Is there anything noticeable?
No, I'm sure it's there, but to be honest, I don't have a feel on the pulse of the mood of people because the audience numbers are low. So normally outside any stadium on match day, you would see crowds and crowds of people coming out, going in, parking restrictions. The tubes would be crowded. You'd have difficulty moving along the streets outside the big stadiums. But now all that is not there because nobody can get into the stadiums now because it's only limited socially distanced seating arrangements. So you have to be quite well off to be able to get in. And once you're in, the usual crowded scenes are just not visible anywhere at the moment.
So it's a fraction of what one usually would see.
A fraction of the kind of interest that used to be there. I've got tickets for the cricket match in Manchester later on in the month of August. I'm hoping things would have lifted by then and I can go.
Well, I wish you luck. I hope you can too. Although I wish you would have watched football, but such are the times that we can't. But we have a cricket-related headline. But before we move into vaccine-related discussions with Jami, Jayashree will give us the headlines.
Yeah. Okay, the headlines for the week. Covaxin is 77.8% effective against COVID, according to data submitted by Bharat Biotech to the DCGI. AstraZeneca and Pfizer vaccines are effective against the Delta and Kappa variants, according to a study. I think the study was done by Oxford University. In India, around 40 cases of the Delta Plus variant have been detected, according to the Health Ministry. It's now been classified as a variant of concern. Brazil is currently probing its Covaxin contract with India's Bharat Biotech. On International Yoga Day, Madhya Pradesh launched a mega vaccination campaign. I think it was an attempt to vaccinate more than 1 million people. The Kerala High Court on Tuesday stayed the orders by Lakshadweep Administrator Praful Patel, which ordered the closure of all dairy farms and the banning of meat in midday meals at schools. I think they've given the administration 2 weeks to respond. The UP government has directed the state police to trace those involved in religious conversions and invoke the NSA against them.
Wow.
The central government has suggested amendments to the Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules 2020. I think it's also suggesting that e-commerce websites cannot hold flash sales, which I am very sad about. The Mumbai police have named Republic editor Arnab Goswami as an accused in the TRP scam charge sheet.
You can read some of the reports on this entire...
Yeah, we've done very detailed.
We've done detailed reports on this. You can check them out on newslaundry.com.
Yeah. The Times Network has undertaken to not run anything on Times Now, which is defamatory to the Hindi film industry.
If I may, please come in. It's too tempting, Jayashree. Sorry to cut in, but just for our audience, I'd like to tell them that this Times has given this undertaking when they were taken to court by a bunch of organizations and producers and production houses in Bombay for the kind of coverage they did of the SSR case during the Sushant Singh Rajput suicide case. And News Laundry had pointed out their bullshit and they took us to court, and we have actually had 2 hearings. And now in another court, they have said, sorry, we will not do this defamation. We will not do any defamatory content. Meanwhile, they're taking us to court. So I'm really curious to see when they come next time to court, because the last time the senior advocate didn't land up. He said, sorry, they're not available, not well. So I'd like to know what they will say to us now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the story of Times Now and their brave reportage.
Didn't Manisha do one of her famous programs?
Yes, that's what they
sent us the notice for.
It named Manisha. It named our wonderful producer. It named me. It also named the young researcher, the 21-year-old boy who had just happened to be the researcher on that show. Everyone it named. All these people were named in that case. So.
Ridiculous.
And they, of course, must have thought that we'll take it down. We said, fine, we'll see you in court. And we saw them in court, and their lawyer didn't land up in the second one. Anyway, let's see.
So Narendra Modi is going to chair a meeting on Jammu and Kashmir today with Kashmiri leaders who are expected to press for the restoration of special status.
And this includes the Gupkar gang, what they used to say, right? So he's talking
Yes.
to the Gupkar gang now.
That has made for some good headlines, I think. The Delhi High Court has granted interim protection to NewsClick editor-in-chief in the money laundering case registered against them by the ED.
Right.
The Digital News Publishers Association has moved the Madras High Court over the IT rules. It says the legacy media has been wrongly classified as part of digital media. So this association comprises print and TV media with a digital presence.
So, but they did position themselves as representing digital media, but now they've gone to court saying we're not digital media. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, they had a meeting with Javadekar last year, I think,
Yes.
about it. Twitter has restricted around 50 tweets that contain videos and images of a Muslim man being assaulted in Ghaziabad. According to Medianama, this came after legal demands from the Indian government. In the same case, a Ghaziabad court has granted interim bail to all the nine men accused of assaulting the elderly Muslim man. This took place on June 5th.
Right.
Again, in Uttar Pradesh, the police have booked a journalist and two others for making allegations in a Facebook post about a land grabbing case against the Ram Temple Trust secretary, who is also a VHP leader.
And one of these journalists, Vineet Narayan, many of the listeners will not know Vineet Narayan, but my generation would. He's the man behind the Jain Diaries story, which made the deputy prime minister resign, Mr. Advani. Those Jain Hawala Diaries, Vineet Narayan is the one who broke those stories. So he's one of the ones named.
Wow.
Akhil Gogoi on Tuesday was cleared by an NIA court in one of two cases against him under the UAPA. The News Broadcasting Standards Authority has fined two Kannada news channels and censured Times Now for its biased coverage of the Tablighi Jamaat congregation last year.
Times Now हमेशा news में छाया रहता है.
UEFA has defended its decision to decline a request to illuminate the Munich Euro 2020 stadium in rainbow colors for Wednesday's match between Germany and Hungary.
We'll discuss in a little more detail at the end.
Because Hungary has come out with a law, no? To ban. Why
not
is this
sure.
happening? Is it because of Hungary not wanting?
We'll discuss in a little more detail after
Yeah.
this. But final headline, which many people would have wanted to be the first headline, is a cricket-related headline. There was
No wonder I'm saying it last.
which is
Sorry, sports fans. But yeah, New Zealand has defeated India in the inaugural World Test Championship final held at Southampton on Wednesday.
Also, we have a new NL Sena by Vivek Kaul.
oh yes, we have a new NL Sena
That's,
project by Vivek Kaul. Tell us about it.
Yeah, he's going to be looking at COVID testing data and new infections from January 1st to June 10th across all states. And you know, when Vivek Kaul does a data piece, it's going to be
It
very
is a
robust.
solid data piece.
He's going to be analyzing a lot of it, and we'll get to know a lot of differences among states. So because he's going to do this across all states, you can also check out, if you want to push to contribute to the NL Sena project, check out his previous NL Sena on housing that he'd done for us. It was a fabulous piece on whether you should buy a house or not. It's truly Sadabahar piece. So please contribute to this.
And also, in case you're wondering how the NL Sena budget is allocated, this one will have a explainer video, there illustrations, video editing, and of course the social media push that we give it. So that is how we allocate budgets to NL Sena projects, other than what we pay the journalist.
Basically, all vaccines have to be tested. Beyond a doubt, that is the case. In the case of coronavirus, the testing process has been abbreviated or shortened because of the ongoing emergency. All countries have done that, but no country has approved a vaccine without a phase 3 data. In other words, the clinical trial data displaying a certain level of efficacy, and the early ones showed upwards of 90% efficacy. And they were given what's called emergency use authorization, emergency use license. All these words have been bandied about. The fact of the matter is, and this is where some people may be right when they say these are all experimental vaccines, emergency use authorization, according to the Food and Drug Administration of America, considered to be the most rigorous evaluator of new drugs and new medicines, new vaccines and new products, is not a complete license. It is an emergency use authorization because of the ongoing emergency, and the drug or the vaccine, in this case the vaccine, remains an investigational product. And therefore, these are, indeed, it is true, these are experimental vaccines, and data collection continues until they can give what is called a biologics license or a full authorization. Where does WHO come into this? Why does WHO have to give anybody emergency use or an emergency use license at all? When big countries, Europe, for example, India, definitely, America, have got their own licensing authorities and drug regulatory agencies. WHO comes in purely because many other countries of the world, smaller countries of the world, do not have the infrastructure or the scientific wherewithal with which to do their own evaluation and assessment development of these new products. So if UNICEF wants to buy a vaccine, or if COVAX, the combined Gavi-led WHO-led Gavi-led collective, wants to buy a vaccine, they can't just go and buy whichever vaccine they want just because they happen to like the name of it. They have to pick from a list that the WHO has approved. So that is why getting on the WHO approved list has some importance for vaccine manufacturers, because then their product can be bought by UNICEF or by the Gavi Foundation and so on, and given away to third country to poorer countries of the world. Africa, large parts of the world cannot have their own vaccine, and they can be supplied with these vaccines. So at the present time, as far as I know, only 4 vaccines have got the emergency use license from the WHO. WHO's licensing procedure is interesting. It's
Sorry,
worth
is
people having a
Covaxin
look.
one of them? Is Covaxin one of them?
Covaxin is not one of them at the moment.
I see.
Covaxin is not a WHO license. The WHO license, I was going to say, it's interesting. They assess not only the vaccine data independently, but they also work with, or rather they also assess that vaccine manufacturer's national regulatory authority. So in the case of Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, they have to rely to an extent on the FDA's approval and what is their capacity to oversee the continued monitoring and safety and manufacturing processes of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. In the case of Covaxin, they will the fact that Bharat Biotech has gone to WHO seeking approval, seeking to go onto the emergency use list of the WHO means the WHO will also be looking at the processes and procedures used by the Indian drug regulator, the CDSCO or the DCGI, as to what their capacity is to sort of regulate and monitor it.
So when if our vaccine is not on that list, do we know why? Do they explain why it's not there yet?
Oh, it's not that they have rejected it. They haven't turned it down.
Okay.
They haven't considered it yet, because to apply for it, you need to have good phase 3 trial data,
Which we don't have.
minimum
So-
phase 2 and phase 3 trial data.
Which you're saying we don't have yet.
Well, they haven't submitted it to anybody yet, and therefore nobody can assess it. That's another interesting thing. All the newspapers in India reported that the FDA has rejected Bharat Biotech's application for a US license. That's wrong. They did not reject it. They simply said, we won't consider it. You're not ready for it, they said, because we don't have the data for it. That was one point they made. The other point they said was that under their emergency use authorization procedures, the emergency use comes in when 4 conditions are met. And 2 of the conditions are very important. 1, there has to be an ongoing emergency. Tick that box. There is an ongoing emergency. 2, there must not be any alternative product. Their argument has been that we now have Pfizer, and we now have Moderna. 70% of our population has already been given a vaccine. So therefore, we are not considering it, but we will consider it for what is called a full license. So they actually encouraged Bharat Biotech to go for a full license.
A little appeal that pay to keep news free. Those of you listening to the Hafta on Chota Hafta or on YouTube are listening to the free version. News Laundry has no ads. We don't take ads from either Sarkars or Patanjali or Mukesh Bhai or Adani or indeed Kejriwal, who was full front page ad in all the Delhi papers. I don't know if it was there in the Chennai papers, Jayashree, but
The ads.
there was a
Yeah, I
full
think
page
you are
ad
talking about.
on the front. But if he's appealing to people to get vaccinated, I'm guessing that'll only be Delhi. Although in the past, his on-air ads go to everywhere. They go everywhere. Well, Yediyurappa ads are coming, so we take no ads so that we are not beholden to any politician or political party. We don't take ads because that, in our view, makes for a more independent newsroom, and we don't have to worry about stuff drying up. Like I have often said in the past, not everybody who compromises journalists are bad people. But when you have 2,000 salaries to pay, sometimes you say, you know what, I just got to do this. And I think that was evident in some of the interviews we've seen, we were discussing this morning. I know those people have integrity, they're wonderful people. But if you just don't have money to pay, then you are depending on Yogi Ji's ads, then you'll be nice to Yogi Ji. We don't want to follow that model. So do subscribe to News Laundry. Go to newslaundry.com and click on the subscribe button. Or you can fund our NL Sena project directly. And that is how we can continue to do the work we do, because we do not fear money drying up because someone will punish us by not giving us ads. They can punish us all they want. We don't want their fucking ads. We want your subscription.
I want to say that I took 2 shots of Covaxin. And in fact, I hunted for Covaxin because primarily because Prime Minister had taken Covaxin.
Hmm.
So I didn't know at that time that, you cannot travel abroad because this vaccine is not
Recognized. Hmm.
recognized. So about the yoga thingy, I remember in 2014 when he came into power, Modi, or in the very first year, I think he had introduced Yoga Day. And I also remember, I think I was working with DNA at that time. And I think we did a story where they brought out, this Mahatma Buddha's statue out of National Museum. And, which was against the law. And that statue was in the background when Modi was doing yoga. And I also vividly remember, because I have learnt yoga. I saw the standing posture of the Prime Minister, which was absolutely wrong. It wasn't. I mean, yoga. You need to stand, in a particular way when you do yoga and all. So that's the first thing which we, was taught to us. And I went to a government yoga center to learn this. So I remember that. I think it was, but yoga has got its own, benefits if done properly. And I think any popularity or any spreading of it through whether by Ramdev or the government is welcome.
Right.
So,
My only thing is that, I think there's one thing we should take to the world, it should be yoga. I mean, there's a huge benefit in that. But now look at this Yoga Day celebration. It's a one-day celebration where every year we have the same visuals, PM doing it, uninterested cabinet ministers doing it and doing it wrongly. And also soldiers, at the border, they'll get ITBF, personnel doing it.
This time they had camels doing it.
So
Camels
what is how are you really taking yoga to the world by doing this photo op in India? How is watching the PM doing yoga, leading to us as brand ambassadors of yoga? So that's the problem with it. And how many universities do we have teaching yoga? What are the kind of money that yoga instructors are making? I mean, these are the questions that we should also look at. How are we sending out yoga instructors from India, whether through embassies or whatever, to sort of, have our yoga ambassadors all over the world? I mean, these are concrete things we should be thinking about.
I will add just one thing, because I remember we had done this story. So I don't know whether government should be part of, this, the team to spread yoga message or whatever. Because we did a story and it was an RTI based story. The government had spent, I think, 38 crore rupees on one single day for whatever yoga, on the yoga day, 38 crore rupees, which was public money. So I really don't know whether it is.
No, but to go back to your original question, I do think the BJP is getting very aggressive in the sense that I think they're seeing a conspiracy in everything. For example, this choice of words of union government has become a big thing here. Then another example would be Harshvardhan's response to Manmohan Singh's very measured letter last year.
Yeah, I know.
It was unnecessary to spiral in the way that he did. He said, why didn't you follow this it's a pity your party didn't follow this. That was a very unnatural sort of response. Also, today in the Hindu, there was a story on how the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Science and Technology met yesterday, and they were going to discuss genetic sequencing of COVID and vaccine developments. There are 11 BJP MPs and 7 opposition members who are a part of this Parliamentary Standing Committee. The BJP members objected to deliberations on these subjects, saying an investigation could demoralize the scientific community, which is absurd. And so then the BJP, they asked Jairam Ramesh, who I think was chairing the meeting, to postpone it. And he said, no, we need to discuss this or whatever. So then they staged a walkout. The BJP members staged a walkout. And that's it. So I'm saying this is an unnatural response to what should be a great yes, we do need to know about genetics, our genome sequencing in India. We do need to have these conversations. But the BJP sees it as an attack on its handling of the pandemic, when at the moment it is not that.
And the interesting thing is, in the medium term to the long term, if you really want to get rid of vaccine hesitancy, openness is far better than having a closed system, because an open system will not allow conspiracy theories to start developing. Take, for example, that question about the gap between the 2 doses. If I had been advising the government, I would have said, let's be upfront and honest. There is nothing shameful in saying that the ideal would be to give the vaccine with a gap of about 4 to 8 weeks, because that is what the research shows. But unfortunately, if we did that, the consequences at the population level would be that a few people would get fully immunized and large numbers would not even get one dose of the vaccine. We also know that one dose of the vaccine confers some immunity. So we have taken the view that giving a large number of people some immunity is better than giving a small number of people a great deal of immunity. So on that basis, we are going to increase the gap to 16 weeks. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that stand if it is taken consistently, explained patiently, and everybody signs up to it. From minister downward, everybody says the same thing. People will say, right, look, okay, we all can't have a full 7-course meal, but at least let's enjoy, at least eat plain simple dal bhat for a few days. Perfectly okay. Everybody's belly is reasonably full. Nobody dies of starvation. And at the same time, when vaccines become available, we can gradually reduce the dose bit by bit by bit. What is wrong with that? Instead of that, to cover up and hide everything and say, oh, we can't even tell you why we are not going to increase the dose or the gap or decrease the gap, suggests, skullduggery. And at some point, somebody is bound to start suspecting and say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. And all these sort of stories start to spread.
This one is from Prayash Mohapatra. Hello, NL team. Saving your time, straight to the question to Abhinandan. You say that the subscription model for journalism is not ideal, but only next to best we have right now. I mean, it's the best we have right now and way better than the ad-funded model. What downsides do you see in the subscription model adopted for news, however few they may be? Well, the downside, Prayash, first of all, thank you for making the subscription model work, for making us sustainable for so long, and for being a part of the army that keeps news independent free by subscribing. Learn from Prayash, all you Mufat Khors who are listening to this for free in the Chota Hafta. Yeah, go get your credit card and pay to keep news free on newslaundry.com. The downsides are that we have to make a very conscious case of covering things. Like, for example, we're an English site, right? The overwhelming majority of people who have the capacity to pay for news, even if it's 300 rupees a month, are English speakers. So there could be a tendency of only catering to English speakers. Whereas, large majority of Hindi speakers, there will be people in the Hindi news market who can pay, but as a large chunk, as a market, one can assume that is not as well off because there is some sort of a overlap between your purchasing power and knowing English or going to English medium schools. That is one danger. Another danger is, just one sort of people subscribing to you, so you kind of cater to them, although there is data to suggest that people don't pay for opinion, they pay for news. But then what news you pick? Are we only going to pick urban news because all our viewers, listeners, readers are in Chennai, New York, Boston, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, London? Or will we also cover what's happening in Siwal Khas and Khurja? Because probably Siwal Khas and Khurja is not reading News Laundry. So those are the dangers. And there are ways to kind of make sure you don't fall victim to that. Well, let me rephrase that. Not make sure. There are ways to try to minimize that, but that is a danger even in ad-funded model. And I'm sure there'll be people on the panel who can think of, in the subscriber-funded model. What are the other weaknesses of sub-funded models that you can think of? Manisha, Jami, Raman sir, Jayashree, can you think of any others?
I think as journalists, maybe like one thing that journalists don't like doing is putting the stuff behind paywalls. So that's like, I think with journalists, most of them want to be read and be seen and heard by a number of people. So maybe I think when it comes to putting stuff behind paywall, it makes journalists feel a little bad. But that is the only way to then go about putting subscriptions to.
Yeah, then you restrict some reports to few people, whereas they should serve all public.
I think now for one disadvantage that we don't have, thankfully, because we started off really early, for the newer entrants, to form a habit and to explain to people why you should be paying to them is kind of tough. I think we've been doing it for a very long time, so it's relatively easier for us.
They are very polite in asking. They say, please support us. We say, if you're not supporting independent media and paying for it, stop whining about how bad news is.
But then that's also because we're completely ad-free. So that's also a big...
And shameless.
Big leap to take. So that leap of faith also is hard for most independent news organizations to also take.
Basically, News Laundry taking the position it did was the equivalent of leaping off a stage and hoping the audience will catch you. And they did catch us. Because we didn't take any ads. But had they not caught us,
then
as we have seen...
flat on our face.
All of you listening in, the Chota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoron. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.